Consulate has invited us inside.
Vamos, vamos, pasen pues, por favor.
More money on embassy than they actually did on the people.
Yeah, that's back when they had like better.
Thank you so much. Gracias.
O sea, sí tendría muy buena memoria para recordar un día que pasé hace mucho tiempo. Recién estuve en mi país. ¿Estuviste en China? Sí, recién vine.
Keep going.
Recién vine ayer. Y vine a mi clase. Salí de la ciudad y me fui a clase.
I know. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? He's well now. Hey. Hi. Hey. Hey. Hey, I just want to say on behalf of all the staff of the embassy, Venezuelan Embassy here in DC, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much to be here in a day like this. Have you been following the news today? The U.S. government just decided not to recognize officially the President Maduro, not even his decisions from our ministers, and that just led us in a very difficult situation as a country. And we want to appreciate. We want to show you guys how much this means for us. I want to apologize because you don't have enough coffee and enough drink. But seriously, we never expect so much people today. We just expected the same friends as usual, which I know they are here, but not that many people, not that many faces that now know what's going on in Venezuela. So thank you so much. From now on, as you know, we are under attack every day. We don't know exactly how the Department of State will just react with us as a members of the embassy staff. So we don't know if we have to close this embassy. We don't know how will be the process of the Venezuela citizen here in this country without any diplomat relations. So I want to say thank you. I don't know if one of our staff wants to talk. So I really appreciate that you'll be here. That you're here. Thank you.
¡Maduro sí! ¡Maduro sí! ¡Maduro sí! ¡Maduro sí!
Maduro, amigo, el pueblo está contigo. 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 Maduro, amigo, el pueblo está contigo.
We are excited that you are here. We are excited to know that we are not alone, to confirm that you all of you left whatever you were doing today to be with us here. That is very important for us, for our families. We're excited. Now is the time we need you the most. We will be in contact with some of you, and we ask you all to follow the news and get in contact with each other tonight. Exchange your contact information. It's very important for our country. Your support to denounce everything. This is an unprecedented situation in the international community. It is an unprecedented situation, I think, in this country too. And now diplomacy is made by Twitter among senators and presidents, and everybody says whatever they want. So we need the people to stand, because the people matter. It's not about, you know, just governments and Twitter and TV and media. It is about all of you that have voices, and vote, and pay taxes, and have the right to know what is really happening and what is going to happen. So thank you again, and please stay strong with us.
Whatever you want to say.
Please, now is the moment. Our
Tomorrow,
president is following this.
tomorrow at 1 p.m. in front of the White House. How many people here will be able to make it? Tomorrow at 1 p.m. in front of the White House? Okay, how many people could call one other person tonight, or post it on Facebook, or post it on Twitter? Join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. in front of the White House to do exactly what we were doing here tonight. Tomorrow at 1 p.m.
So you're free to talk, you're free to say here a little bit warmer than outside, to share your thoughts. You can ask us whatever you just want to know about what's going on. We're just here to talk and to share with you guys.
Or if you want to send a message to our people in Venezuela, our president is following closely all of this around the world right now, so the mic is yours.
It's yours.
I think Patricio wants to say something.
Sure, I can say something. Hi, my name is Patricio. I'm a journalist, academic. The important thing here is that we have to remember the double standard. We have a situation, for example, we have the Grupo de Lima, the famous Grupo de Lima. Honduras is part of the Grupo de Lima. A couple of people, Medina mentioned Honduras case. Why is so important, that little country? Because in that country, there was fraud, electoral fraud last year. And then 4 and 5 years ago, they have so many fraud. And that president, Juan Orlando Hernandez, is a puppet of the US. What happened with the election there? The OAS, the Organization of American States, organized an electoral observation in Honduras. They went there. At the end of the event, they certified that there was fraud. The Organization of American States, the same organization which has been used by the US as a political weapon of this country. The Honduras government is totally recognized by the United States, even though everybody knows that it was elected by fraud. And if you notice, most of the people coming through the borders as part of the caravan of migrants, they are coming from Honduras. Honduras has the biggest military base in Central America of the US. The US controls the security forces in Honduras, and yet drug dealers work there freely with no issues. The drug passes through Honduras very easily and is consumed here in the US. So the double standard. Where are the human rights of Hondurans? Why Honduras is part of the international community? Why there are no sanctions against the government of Honduras? So everything you see being done to Venezuela's government, you don't see it in the case of Honduras. Why? Because Honduras is just a puppet of the United States international policy. So we have arguments there. We have very, very strong reasons to be opposed to what's going on in Venezuela, the double standard. As Medina was saying, what about the human rights? Someone talked about Guantanamo. The US tortures. Is exercising torture in Guantanamo right now. The Red Cross has attacked the US clearly, saying you are torturing not only in Guantanamo, in several clandestine jails. The human rights are violated by this country in a daily basis in the Middle East. The US is the only country of the Americas that attack other peoples in the rest of the world. And yet the OAS or the International Human Rights Court doesn't do anything. So it's a double standard again. More than 100 journalists were killed last year in Mexico. More than 100 journalists. Nobody's talking about freedom of expression in Mexico. Nobody's defending those journalists. We have 43 students of Ayotzinapa still missing. They were killed by police officers and military officers of the Mexican government. There are no sanctions against the Mexican government. We have a very serious situation in Brazil, human rights violation on a daily basis. A lot of poverty, a lot of polarization, a lot of division. The same kind of problem that they claim that Venezuela is suffering, and yet we don't have sanctions against the Brazilian government. A president who is a fascist, extremely misogynist, homophobic. He hates everything related to diversity. I mean, his language is is worse than Donald Trump. And yet there are no sanctions against the Brazilian government. So I wanna call you to see this continental context, how unfair is the treatment, is how selective is the criticism. We cannot allow that. Worse than that, it's incredible that someone is self-proclaimed as president of Venezuela. I mean, the opposition competed in the elections, and they're so divided that part of the opposition decided not to run for president. The other part of the opposition said, no, we don't care, we are gonna run. We don't agree with you. So they faced the elections divided, and Maduro won. So then it's incredible that a congressman that is part of the National Assembly that is not recognized by the Supreme Court of Venezuela is self-proclaiming himself as president of the United States, violating the will of millions and millions of Venezuelans. We have to remember, I'm not sure if we are clear about this, the National Assembly of Venezuela is illegitimate because they accepted 3 congressmen that were elected based on fraud. That's the situation. And there was a 4th one. The 4th congressman that was not accepted by the electoral authority was part of the Chavista political party, the PCOV. One of them was found guilty of fraud, so he was expelled, plus 3 more of the opposition. You don't see this fact in the American media. So it's not like the government is intervening in an illegitimate way. So that's why the National Assembly is illegitimate. So as you see, the only thing that we can do now is try to fight back. We know that the campaign in terms of the media is extremely intense. It's very hard to fight back, but we can do it through social media, little by little, voice by voice, heart by heart. So we say, yes, please, Fred, want to say something?
One thing to follow up with what compañero Patricio is saying is, I had the good fortune to be on the ground during the May 20th elections and to observe more than 20 polling places. And the question I raise is, why did the State Department choose boycott of the election and choose this path instead? It's because they're not just after changing the president. They want to destroy all of the Bolivarian revolution and the institutions and the comunas and the projects that have given a chance could flourish in Venezuela. This is why they're choosing this path instead of, I think, the electoral path. And we were able to observe on that day. I mean, despite the boycott, we had around 46%, more than 46%, more than 9 million people turned out despite the boycott and even threats against the electorate if they went out and voted. So those elections were not just, I think, an exercise in democracy, but an act of resistance.
And another important thing, the OAS is incredible. The fact that the OAS is not actually fulfilling its mandate. we know that Luis Almagro acts as a Secretary of State of the United States, basically. So he's, yes, you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to say, agreeing with everything that you all have already said, but I really just wanted to give a heartfelt thanks to all of the diplomats here, because all of us have come in contact with them in many different ways, but one thing that Venezuela and their diplomats have always done is open their homes, their embassy, their cultural spaces for the people here in the United States, not asking anything of us except for goodwill and friendship. And I just wanted to thank all of them, and also I'm sure on behalf of everyone here, to the Venezuelan people, I mean, you must know that we are with you, the people of the United States, who every day have to go to work, who every day also are fighting for their rights. We are with you, and we know that your example is so important to us that that's why we struggle. I mean, if we had the electoral system that the Venezuelan people had, we wouldn't be in this situation that we are, because you actually respect the popular vote. So for us, I just wanted, to let everyone know that we know you're going to survive, we know you're going to win, and you're going to continue to be an example for not only people in Venezuela who care about human rights and who care about education and basic rights for all of our children and future generations, but for the region and for Americans too. So thank you so much for everything that you continue to do, and for the struggle that you do every day to keep your democratically elected president in his presidency, and that's Maduro.
Arturo Brindis.
I just wanted to make an announcement and say that there's a group of us who came from Baltimore. I'm with the People's Power Assembly, and we really, really would like to show our solidarity to the Venezuelan people and to President Maduro. And I want to say something about Baltimore, because it's a very poor city that's been plagued by police terror and poverty. And one of the things is that Venezuela, and particularly the Bolivarian Revolution, has been a tremendous example for our people in our city. And we always remember the program, the oil program, the giveaway program that took place. In fact, yesterday we were just donning some of the scarves and some of the information and telling people about it. So we wanted to say so much from our hearts, the solidarity that we feel. And we're going to keep it up. And we're going to try to get a delegation to come up tomorrow to the demonstration if it's possible. It's very hard for us a lot of times. But on Saturday, we had 2 events planned. And I know the one in the evening, we're going to turn it into U.S. hands off of Venezuela. The event was originally scheduled. There were a whole number of us, a big delegation that went down to the border and went to Tijuana to the caravan. And there is a woman from Honduras that's going to come and speak. Telesur is going to be there, and some of us who actually participated will be there. But I'm positive that the beginning part of that meeting is going to be dedicated to this fight of U.S. hands off Venezuela. And then the last thing I wanted to tell people about, because it's connected, the government shutdown is literally impoverishing people. It's not just about the government workers alone. It's about people who are going to be losing their food stamps. It's about a lot of workers who are just contract workers who now don't have jobs. I mean, we've been talking to some of these workers who literally can't, afford their rent, and they may be evicted. So on Saturday at 1 o'clock, we're scheduling a protest in downtown Baltimore. Hands, it's really against Trump, but it's the same fight. So all I can say and sit down is that our hearts are really with the Venezuelan people, and we will do every single thing possible, humanly possible, to stop the U.S. coup, because we consider it a U.S. coup, a Trump coup, a coup by big business and the oil companies. So anyhow, thank you all.
¡Viva Venezuela!
Compañeros, it's a pleasure for me to be here. It's very interesting that this is going on, because we have been waiting a long time. We've been too passive for a while now. And we have to build this movement. We have to build this movement. Venezuela needs us. We've been attacked by the same forces here in the United States and in Venezuela and in Latin America. The same forces are attacking all of us. And it's a concern. And we are not, what part of we were talking about today, and part of the Republicans, why they're attacking the workers here in the government, because the Republicans like small governments. So they want to use it to cut it off, to cut quite a bit of the resources. We have to think about all that. That is happening to us here. We are laying back waiting for the election or something like that. We have to start moving now. The elections that are coming up are not going to resolve anything. We need to move. The people are the ones who move things, which make the changes. So we have to organize right now. In Latin America, in many places where people get really angry, immediately they go out to the street. We not go in the street. What is happening to us? We need to mobilize and organize. Venezuela needs us. Latin America needs us. But here in the United States, we work with a lot of the immigrant workers, and we have a big problem too. We have movements, but those movements need to be integrated.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Integrated so we understand that the issue of the immigrants is similar to the issue of what they're attacking Venezuela and Latin America. It's very close, so we need to really work on that, because that movement is already built, so we really need to go there and say, hey, we need to work on those two fronts. How do we do that? It's a big concern for me. We have been too laying back, waiting. It's time to get up and go into the streets. What is happening tomorrow is important for us to support. This needs to be built every single day until they understand that we don't want any more interventions. Because when we come here, they also attack us. We don't want any immigrants here. So don't have any problems with our countries then. Yeah. Don't attack our countries. Yeah. Don't start wars any place. Yeah. And we don't have to come here then. That's right. We'll stay in our country. But this is important. So, but also the movement needs to get together. To build this thing, we need to come together. We have a lot of differences about all of us, and we need to start playing around and say, let's organize together. Right. This is a big something for humanity. So we are here, Trabajadores Unidos is here, and we're going to keep building. We are a bunch of workers who are trying to move forward, and we want to unite. For the first time, we want to unite with international things that are going on. Right. This is important. So we're going to build. ¡Viva Maduro! ¡Que viva! ¡Viva Maduro! ¡Viva Venezuela! ¡Que viva!
Hi, sisters and brothers. My name is Heather. This is Roselle. I'm here with the Answer Coalition, Act Now to Stop War and End Racism, and I'm a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And we're here first and foremost to express our solidarity with the people of Venezuela, with the Bolivarian Revolution, with the revolutionary process that has been going for now decades, actually, in that country, and is really an inspiration to working people all over the world. And that's really what the Trump administration, and not only the Trump administration, but the ruling class in Venezuela too, wants to kill that. They want to extinguish that fire. It wasn't Donald Trump that went in there and recently destroyed tons and tons of grain in the Venezuelan storehouses and warehouses. No. That was the owners of the grain, the same owners of the factories that shut down factories rather than producing things for the people. Yeah, she's thirsty. But, you know, and that's the thing. We've got families here too, and the Bolivarian Revolution has done so much for children and families, access to food, access to medicine. That's what the Trump administration and the ruling class in Venezuela, honestly, the small ruling class in Honduras that works with U.S. imperialism. My family is from the Middle East, from Iraq. We can see that it doesn't matter where you're from around the world. The U.S. is willing to work with those who seek to benefit from suppressing their own people. And we will never, ever side with Venezuelans who seek to oppose or overturn the revolution. We're going to stand with the revolution until the very end. Viva Venezuela!
Your number, please. Your number.
Good evening. I'm Peter Bolton. I am a journalist at the Canary that covers Latin America. Thank you to the embassy staff for having me today, and thank you for the people that have granted me an interview. I guess what I'd like to say is that I encourage all of you to be very critical in the way that you read the way that Venezuela and all of the Latin American countries, and indeed elsewhere, is presented in the media. In this country, unfortunately, and in much of Europe and Canada, there's a huge amount of distortion and outright lies regarding what's going on in these countries. I'm sure that all of you are very well aware of this, but I encourage you to always keep a critical eye. Look out for alternative media sources, which there are many, and which the amazing internet has facilitated. And finally, Viva Maduro! Viva Maduro!
Viva Maduro! I wanted to sort of add what everyone has been saying thus far. And one of the things we have to look for, what Arturo said, how do we integrate the peoples in the U.S.? How do we integrate that multiracial, multicultural character that it has? Let's focus on the things that unite us, not the things that divide us. For example, leadership, well, the leadership will be determined by the masses and who they follow and who's speaking the messages that really relates to the issues here. You know, it's not only about the federal employees. I have a niece who received about a week ago a message, electronic mail, that her children, she has two twins, will no longer be able to receive lunch that is available to all children in public schools, but that she would have to come out of her pocket to pay for that. That is some of the problems with the shutdown. If there's no money to run Obamacare, then that means that people won't have access to health care. That means people who are diabetic won't be able to purchase insulin because they have no money to be able to make that happen. So this is the things that we have to be paying attention to. It's not just the federal employees. Of course, they're the first ones that are being held hostage in order to negotiate the so-called wall, while we're struggling over here. Let's deal with the question of mass incarceration of black and brown people. That's where the focus. Let's deal with racism in this country. That's what we need to invest our money in repairing the infrastructure in this country, in improving our schools, in doing so many things that's needed here, in providing the kind of care, health care that folks need, that mothers need, that children need, that the elderly need, people with special health problems. That's the focus. And we need resources. The resources are being utilized, you know, for imperialist objectives.
For wars.
For wars. We need to shut down all these bases.
Yeah.
Shut it down. Yeah. Invest that money into improving the conditions here. And by doing so, there won't be no war. There'll be peace. And that's the things that we need to talk about. The things that unify us. We are human beings. If you get cut, you're going to bleed red. You're not going to bleed any other color but red. You know what pain is. So let's deal with our humanity first and foremost.
Yeah.
In the 70s, we had this beautiful song. I'm not sure if some of you knows it. It was called Venceremos. And it was a song that represented the revolution, the dream of revolution. So I know that some of my compañeros and compañeras know this song, so we will sing it, okay? And we're gonna dedicate this song to Venezuela and to their fight. Desde el hondo cristal de la patria se levanta el clamor popular, ya se anuncia la nueva alborada, Venezuela comienza a cantar. Recordando a Salvador Allende, cuyo ejemplo lo hiciera inmortal, enfrentemos primero a la muerte, traicionar a la patria jamás. Venceremos, venceremos, mil cadenas habrá que romper, venceremos, venceremos. Al fascismo sabremos vencer, Venceremos, venceremos, mil cadenas habrá que romper. Venceremos, venceremos, al fascismo sabremos vencer. Campesinos, soldados, mineros, la mujer de la patria también, estudiantes, empleados y obreros, cumpliremos con nuestro deber, sembraremos las tierras de gloria, socialista será el porvenir, todos juntos haremos la historia, a cumplir, a cumplir, a cumplir. Venceremos, venceremos, mil cadenas habrá que romper. Venceremos, venceremos, al fascismo sabremos vencer. Otra vez, venceremos, venceremos, mil cadenas habrá que romper. Venceremos, venceremos, al fascismo sabremos vencer. ¡Que viva Maduro! ¡Que viva Venezuela!
That someone from the embassy just gave us on where the international community is standing right now on this, and it's very, very upsetting. So I will tell you the countries that have said that they support the Maduro government is Bolivia, Cuba, Mexico, Russia, and Turkey so far. The countries that recognize Guaido as Venezuela's president, a person who was never elected by the Venezuelan people, are U.S., Canada, Brazil, Paraguay, Colombia, Argentina, Peru, pains me to say Ecuador, Costa Rica, Chile, and Guatemala. So we see how successful the forces that want to get rid of the government in Venezuela are. And the European Union so far is divided, has not put out anything official yet, but there is a lot of discussions going on about how each country is going to react. So I think it's important for us to keep watching the news and to reach out to our friends in other countries and tell them to get out in front of either Venezuelan embassies to show their solidarity and to try to stop this, what looks like a growing momentum that the United States, is very good at putting pressure on other countries to follow its lead. We've seen that time and again in the United Nations, where they threaten small countries that they're going to cut off aid, and they even threaten big countries as well. So we have a lot of work in front of us, not only to try to get some members, some elected officials in our country, and let's see about some of those newly elected Congress people who say they're going to stand up against U.S. attacks. Let's see if we can get them to show their support for the Maduro government. But we also have a lot of work to do to try to unite countries around the world to get their governments not to support a person who was never elected by the Venezuelan people. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Quiero agradecerles inmensamente por su asistencia.
I want to thank you for your attendance.
La convocatoria a través de Heather Beno, una agradable compañera de bastantes años de lucha.
Who?
Heather Beno.
So he wants to thank her, Heather Beno.
¿Dónde está Heather Beno? Se movió.
Ahí
está. ¿No? Queremos agradecerte inmensamente por la convocatoria. Hace años que venimos luchando todos los movimientos.
Everybody don't understand Spanish, or everybody understands Spanish, or some people don't understand Spanish. Okay, sure.
Oh, Maduro, Arturo, sí.
Sure.
¿Puedes?
Continue.
Okay. queremos agradecerles por la participación y la convocatoria.
Again, yeah, we want to thank you for the participation.
La presión del vicepresidente de Estados Unidos ha creado una desestabilización al interior de Venezuela.
The pressure of Mike Pence has created a pressure inside Venezuela.
Pompeo, a través de todos los presidentes neoliberalistas, ha creado un apoyo a esa convergencia.
Pompeo also has actually strengthened that pressure against Venezuela.
Han aprobado un presidente que hace una semana atrás se convirtió en presidente de la ex asamblea de Venezuela.
Yeah, they have validated, they have recognized a president that is a president of de facto, that he's not the president elected by the people, but the president of the National Assembly.
También está creándose una acción armada a través de diferentes miembros paramilitares al llamado del gobierno de Estados Unidos y Colombia.
They are also creating a paramilitary reaction, especially coming from Colombia.
Por todo ello, el presidente Maduro acaba de lanzar una ruptura de relaciones diplomáticas con Estados Unidos.
That's why the President Maduro has how do you say
Broken
that?
relation.
Broken, really? Literally? Broken relationship, diplomatic relationship with the U.S.
Y es por eso que le ha dado a la legación diplomática de Estados Unidos 72 horas para que abandone Venezuela.
That's why the U.S. diplomats have 72 hours to abandon Venezuela.
Cuando ocurre esto, se hace mutua la acción.
Yeah, so we are expecting a principle of reciprocity, right?
Nosotros queremos agradecer inmensamente a la diplomacia venezolana de acá en Estados Unidos.
Yeah, we want to thank the diplomats of Venezuela here in the U.S., very good friends.
Este problema diplomático va a crear que abandonen también nuestros compañeros Estados Unidos.
There is a chance that our friends here will be also expelled from the U.S.
Ha sido la única embajada en Estados Unidos que nos ha abierto las puertas a todos los movimientos sociales.
It has been the only embassy in the U.S., no the only one, but one of the... Cuba, also Bolivia, Bolivia, Cuba, Nicaragua, but it's one of the embassies that opened its door to all the social movements of Latin America. Cuba also, Nicaragua, Bolivia.
Es por ello que nosotros estamos a punto de perder a nuestros compañeros en una ausencia masiva hacia Venezuela.
We are very close to lose them. We're very sad about that.
Queremos decirles a través de todos ustedes que para nosotros siempre han sido unos hermanos de lucha revolucionaria en Estados Unidos.
We want to tell you that you have always been revolutionary fighters in the U.S. of our principles.
Los principios de la revolución de Latinoamérica a través de la Patria Grande fue uno de los hitos más importantes con el comandante Chávez.
El comandante Chávez was the fundamental factor of all the revolutionary principles of the big homeland, of the big Latin American continent.
Los márgenes de compatibilidad siempre han creado una unidad que hoy está impregnado en las nuevas acciones del mundo actual. Que el nuevo proyecto multipolar se está dando a través del gran impulso del comandante Chávez.
Sure. The comandante Chávez created a sense of unity throughout the continent and the world.
Es por eso que nosotros le decimos a la embajada y a todos los miembros a través de la compañera Lisel, que es la encargada de negocios, muchísimas gracias a todos ustedes, que siempre les vaya bien y que tengan éxito en la nueva vida revolucionaria allá en Venezuela.
So we say our compañera Lisette, she's the business attaché. In fact, she was the ambassador, acting ambassador, actually. So we want to thank you, Lisette. Thank you so much for everything. It's been a pleasure. But come on, we are not sure yet. We're just waiting. I just talked to the compañera. We are not sure what's going to happen in the next hours. We know that the Trump administration and Trump himself tend to be on the slow side, so we don't know what he's thinking, and he's extremely busy right now with the shutdown. I was thinking maybe we could actually ask Nancy Pelosi to self-proclaim herself as president of the United States, and we can have a very good surprise how many countries are going to recognize her as the legitimate president, right? So, but I will say let's wait, because we don't know yet. We don't want to say bye right now. We're just waiting for a decision. But I have to tell you that the media campaign against Venezuela, especially in the United States, is so dark, is so negative. It's not a constructive relationship. And I have to tell you that we have met so many diplomats from the embassies. We have to remember also Bernardo Alvarez. I'm not sure if you met him. Bernardo Alvarez, we need to give him a very good big applause, because he was a diplomat who was the President Chavez representative here in Washington. And he was extremely constructive. He opened the doors to all sectors of the U.S. society. At that time, the ambassador was extremely democratic in his approach, and he would listen to everybody, right-wingers, left-wingers, social movements. So he created a real discussion. But the U.S., through the OAS, they haven't allowed any constructive conversation either in the region or here in Washington. So that's the problem, and I was going to say that in terms of the OAS. The OAS is the Organization of American States, and Luis Almagro hasn't created absolutely nothing close to a constructive conversation related to Venezuela. We have to remember that even the Pope, former presidents of the European Union, a lot of people in good faith were actually creating this framework of conversation with the opposition for so many years. The opposition of Venezuela, supported by the US, they broke those conversations all over again, several times. So we are in this situation because of the OAS. And the OAS should be an organization that creates community, a sense of community. Yeah. But they're not doing it. It's just a lack of decency. It's a lack of historic decency. So don't worry, Luis Almagro, who is the head of the OAS, was expelled from his own political party in Uruguay. I'm not sure if you knew this, because the media doesn't inform that, but he was expelled from his leftist party because the Uruguayan people from Uruguay, they consider him a traitor of his principles. So we're not saying bye yet. So if someone else wants to say anything, please.
We should close up.
Especially young people, yeah. I mean. Anyone?
Thanks to you again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to talk and to listen to us and listen yourself, your thoughts. It's very important for us again. I would just keep in touch for sure. I was just trying to, all of us were trying to send to you guys information about what's going on and what will happen with us and with the country.
Thanks so much, my friend.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow at 1 o'clock in front of the White House.
De pie sí, rodilla no, arrodillado no, de pie sí, arrodillado no.
Yeah, we're switching. Yeah, I think the question was so busy, he wasn't responding.
Wait, we literally have a quiz in that class.
No, she said it got